Okay, so welcome to the Mindfulness Movement Teacher Training. So mindfulness and movement, they are both things that we do, whatever our ability, physical or mental. We have a mind and we also move, even if it's just the breathing, the blood, the digestion, all sorts of different things going on our body. And both of them, in this capacity, they have the potential to be developed and understood in a far deeper way, where we can start to help other people as well as ourselves to calm our minds, to ground ourselves, to live life with a bit more ease. So the basic premise of what we're doing is to bring benefit to ourselves. And by doing that, this benefit may spread to others. So I'm going to start with which everybody is really familiar, and that's just getting the feet shoulder width apart, which gives us a wider platform, a better centre of gravity. Now, this may feel very familiar to those who come along to my sessions and things, but actually, if we start observing people's postures, often they're standing in all sorts of different ways which don't give them much connection to the ground. And of course, this is all what we'll be talking about over the next year, that lack of support that we have from the ground. So if you can just feel your feet, and I just want to talk a little bit before while I'm talking, really have a sense of the soles of the feet on the ground. I mentioned the word art. We all have a potential. We can all sing, we can all dance, we can all write or have imaginations that create stories and things. We have the potential to make music, but often we don't develop that. But if we do, then we need a dedicated practice. So this is about the year is about establishing our own practice, and through that starting to understand from the inside out about what's going on. So practice requires repetition, which is actually quite interesting because very quickly we can get bored. And it's actually moving through that into a deep curiosity about what's going on and finding out daily the same thing over and over again, meeting it fresh. Because today, it's a bit cloudy outside, but there were still glimmers of light, streams of light in the sky, which was absolutely glorious. Each sunrise is different. Each sunset is different. We're different each day. So let's get the feet shoulder width apart, and we're going to just gently sway from foot to foot. Now, this seems very, very simple. I'll talk a bit more about this later. As we do it, I want you to feel the sensations in your feet, to feel the pressure under your feet. What does that feel like? And let the feet soften. Again, this is quite interesting. We carry a huge amount of tension in our feet. I know with a number of people I've worked with over the years, seeing the radical changes that can come about when they start to relax their feet. And because the feet are a long way from the head, often we don't notice it. So we're just swaying from foot to foot, feeling the pressure under our feet. And at the same time, we're going to move slowly up the body, the knees slightly bent. We're going to loosen the hips, have a sense of ease in the hips, sort of silkiness, a fluidity in the hips. Free the neck. You might want to do what I'm doing, just let the neck just come around a little bit. Let the shoulders drop, 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 drop. And then we're going to let the chest go drop so our back's open. So this is all quite subtle because often we're doing the opposite. So this requires a lot of awareness to recalibrate that which we were born with, the posture we were born with. So we're just feeling the ground supporting us. At the same time, I want inviting everybody to slowly release the out-breath. The sense of really letting go on the out-breath. Now this again can be misinterpreted, and I've seen people take a big puff in and then blow it out really strongly. And that actually comes into fire breathing, which we'll probably do at some point, but we want to calm ourselves. So that sense of the breath coming out like a gentle mist, easy. And as we breathe out, we just feel the body relaxing a little bit more, feeling that sense of the ground. And just feel the ground under the feet. I've been experimenting with this and doing this for about 5 minutes, just breathing, feeling the feet, letting the ground support us. Can be incredibly calming. So meditation and movement, the Qigong and the meditation both start with the same thing, getting that connection with the ground and finding an ease. So all the time we're going to be threading the way that both of them overlap. We can treat them differently, but they also weave together. So Qigong is movement, meditation, medicine. And meditation takes us much more profoundly, which of course supports our life, into how our consciousness works. So just feeling that swaying. Now, the other thing, our language is really important. Our language is developed from a visceral need to express ourselves. So just by allowing ourselves to feel supported by the earth, we can relax a bit more, we can feel safer. And so often, when we're in a bit of trouble, if we've got friends around to support us, that really helps. But sometimes we're out there on our own without any support. The ground will support us, gives us a space, a moment of comfort. So just coming, swaying, feeling the ease of the hips, really dropping, surrendering to gravity, and then softening the face. Lovely expression. The face is a veritable magnet for tension. So releasing around the jaw, sweet, soft lips of a baby, for example. Clearing the forehead, softening within and around the eyes. And then come to stillness and feel the soles of the feet again. We're going to keep coming back to the feet, back to the ground, feeling that sense of support from the ground, the knees slightly bent, and just rock slightly back into the heels. Because of the way the mind works, it tends to sort of keep planning, maybe anxiety, worry, all sorts of chit-chat in the mind takes us into the big toe quite a lot. So we want to settle back, a little bit more weight in the heels so the toes are free to wiggle. And then you can feel that the ears are over the shoulders, over the hips, over the feet. And we're going to fold the hands over the lower belly. And now the hands are quite interesting. We've got between the thumb and the forefinger. This is known as the tiger's mouth. And I love that expression, between the forefinger and the thumb. And we're going to slot the tiger's mouths together. And you've got the palm of the hand. Now the palm of the hand, I'll be talking about this over the year as well. Various meridians go down through the palm of the hand. One that goes through the center is the pericardium meridian. So that's the heart protector. And the heart meridian actually goes down the little finger. So, and then the lung meridian goes down the forefinger. So we're connecting our lower belly. So between the belly button and the pubic bone, this is called, sometimes called the lower dantian, the mind palace. We can label it our engine. It's also connecting the heart to this brain in the belly. And through dropping and feeling supported, we support the heart and the mind has got more space. So breathing Again, our breathing gets affected very deeply by how the mind works, how our emotions are. So it's not a simple thing to do. It is automatic. We don't have to wake up in the middle of the night and remind ourselves to breathe, but it's also can be regulated. It's one of the few things in the body that can also be regulated. Blinking is another one. You might just try, you blink all the time, but if you just blink quickly now, you can see, and you'll get a sort of a rather strange view of the world. And then just feeling the belly underneath your hands, keeping the chest soft, the neck soft, the face soft. As we breathe out, you may feel the belly. I'm hoping you feel the lower belly getting tight under your hands. And then keeping all this soft as we breathe in, feeling the belly getting huge. And then breathing out, slow out breath. Feeling as we breathe out, softening the feet, relaxing the lower back so you feel the tailbone is rooted in the ground, the neck free. And keeping, this is the difficult bit often, to keep the face soft, the neck soft, the chest soft, and the shoulders soft on the in-breath. So we trigger the lower belly. Now, so often, the way we live our lives, we've trained ourselves to really hold around here and to hold in the jaw and the neck and the shoulders. So everything in the middle, our torso, all the working bits that keep us alive in our body, are all a bit held tightly. They're not liberated. So this breath, coming back to this breath, it's really worth spending time over and studying for yourself to find out actually what's going on. So the hands here, we have this lovely connection. Yes, okay. So my pelvic floor, my lower abdomen over the pubic bone is getting tighter. At the same time, I'm dropping my tailbone, keeping the connection with my feet, neck free. And then as this lower belly gets tight, of course, that pushes the diaphragm up, and that'll close the rib cage, and the lungs get squeezed. And then as I breathe in and this opens, the diaphragm can come down and the lungs can open. The lungs are passive organs, they've got no muscles. They really depend on the workings of the pelvic floor, the core stabilizing muscles, and the ribs and in the back. And so often people hold this and just use the chest. More implications about that later. And just have one long, lovely out breath. Releasing, releasing, releasing. And then I want you to stir over your lower abdomen, just thinking, well, this is going to be my engine. So one of the translations of lower dantian is mind palace, that connection to the intellect in the belly and other intellects. We've got a brain in the heart, we've got a brain in the head, brain around the body. And then just give yourself a shimmy. Again, I'll be talking about when or when not to use these things. Okay, just have a little sway. I'm going to introduce one more aspect of Qigong before we sit down. And that's the 5-element theory. So in Chinese medical theory, they use the 5 elements they use. They do differ depending on which, in Tibetan it's different, in other things they use different elements. They're all interesting, they all contribute. In Chinese ones, they have water, metal, so let's start again. Metal, water, wood, fire, and earth. And that's the generating cycle. I'll show you a picture of it in a minute. I'll be sending you pictures of this. So the metal is actually connected to the autumn, so it's a very good one to start with. Metal is earth transformed. If you think it's squeezed and transformed into metal. And the most transforming, life-giving part of course, there's transformations going on all the time in the body. is the air, which is formless, comes into the body and becomes form in our blood. So metal is connected to the lungs, the organ of the lungs, and our breath. And we're just going to do a very simple exercise with that thing of metal. And it's a lovely one because as soon as we lift our arms, we hold our hot breathing. We're just literally going to open the elbows and bring the palms of the hands up while dropping the tailbone, come up above the head and turn the hands and take the thumbs up to the sky so the elbows to go back a bit. And then we turn the hands and we're going to come down. Now, if we do that and match the breath, the mind, the heart, the body, it loves it when things are working together. So often our mind is over there, our breathing's there, and our movement's doing something else. And everything's sort of a little bit all over the place. So in meditation and in Qigong, we start to bring this flow of breath, mind and body together. So this is a really good example. So you've got that lovely soft root down the bottom into the ground. We've got a little space under the armpits, drop the chest, and we're going to breathe out. As we breathe in, we're going to come up and turn the hands, and we're going to look up. And on the out breath, turn the hands and come down. Very simple, matching the breath to the movement. So there's that sense of elbows opening, dropping into the feet, the belly gets big, thumbs to the sky, little fingers at the back of the room, and then breathing out, coming down. Now, I'd like to add right here, you do what you can, and what you can't do, you don't do. You listen to your body. So we're breathing in up, thumbs to the sky, and then breathing out, down. Taking a breath in, coming up. And then as we breathe out, coming down. And then just have a moment of just very stillness and notice how you're feeling. I just have to check something on my screen. Good, okay. So we're going to do something cleansing now. And that's with each element and with each organ, there's a different healing sound. And in this point of autumn, when coughs and colds and all sorts of going through the change of the season, the sense of letting go, the body sometimes wants to detoxify by giving us a cold. Very snotty. I've had one this week, you might hear it in my voice. And I've been doing this, which has been incredibly helpful. The sound that we use for metal, for the lungs, I'm just going to change this setting, is an S sound. So it's a hissing sound, and it's between the teeth. So I'm hoping you can hear that. And I'm squeezing the lower belly. So what we're going to do is to come up, and as we come down, we do that hissing sound. Now, in meditation and in Qigong, there's various different forms. Peaceful mind meditation, there's visualizations, there's insight. And in Qigong, the same thing. So we establish root, peaceful mind, and on this we're going to use a little bit of a visualization. So as we do the hissing sound, we visualize like a grey cloud of all the impurities being sent out. So here, now on the in-breath, we visualize we're filling ourselves with beautiful white light. It's got joy in it, it's brilliant, it's amazing. It's got a bit of a sparkle in it. So we're breathing in white light. And then again coming up. And relax. Have a moment of noticing how you're feeling. How am I feeling right now? And just bounce up and down in the knees and just let everything shake. Really good thing to do. To release tensions. So the back of the neck is free, the shoulders are free, the arms are free, and the lower back is free. And then shake your legs out. So throughout this session, I'll be dropping in a few questions. Just change the setting again. The first one I want you to ask, we're going to change from standing to seated, is, where am I? Just drop the question in without expecting an answer. Where am I? And the second one is, how am I feeling? So we're going to take a minute or so just to change from standing to seated. Okay, right. So, having just done that little settling ourselves, grounding ourselves, connecting with our breath, that I would start a Qigong class with. But I wouldn't do that on a mindfulness course. People come for different things, they have a different agenda. And I've learned when people come on a mindfulness course, it's about being seated and in the chair, feeling safe. And that's part of our task, if you like, as facilitators, is to create a space where people feel safe. So that depends on our own ability to stay grounded and to hold the space. So in a mindfulness course, some people, even just getting into the room can be huge, because we never know what trauma people are bringing. And, everybody's complicated. So just doing what we have just done, for example, gently requesting people sway from foot to foot. Not everybody can do that. People have the delusion of swaying from foot to foot, but they're just swaying their shoulders. So the head is a long way from the feet. A lot of us don't notice our feet at all until they start hurting. So that moving from foot to foot, shifting our balance, can sometimes take a long time, but it's no big deal if that does happen. It allows the person holding the group to notice what's going on and to just offer a kinder way of, and a more fun way perhaps, of helping to open up these things. So part of this course, I would hope, is enabling ourselves to create somehow that sense of our own luminosity, that we have a sense of light, which is why I have these candles, that sense of brightness, and creating that place of safety. So I would want to, when I'm running a mindfulness course, I might not get people on their feet to the third week, because it is so challenging. I think the whole thing around the body and judgment, just standing there, maybe just lifting your arm up, if something, teasing as a child, being shamed, just feeling also the thing about wanting to get things right. All these things put a brake on people feeling liberated. So for ourselves, our practice is about ourselves having a little bit more liberation, a bit more freedom. So we work with the structure physically, our structures mentally and emotionally in order to do that. And that repetition, 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 repetition. So how I would start is a very simple exercise, and it doesn't require much exposure. I think everybody I've met has also been able to do this, is just lift their hands up. I mean, actually, it's quite interesting doing that because we're exposing our hearts a bit, because the heart meridian's down there. It's not a very usual position. So if you want to do this with me, so you've got the hands up and they're softly open. Now I want you to stretch them so they become sort of tighter, and then just let them release. So I'm not going into a fist. I'm just stretching and into what I refer to as a right bunch of bananas. So I have this hardness, strength, and this soft, weak. So you might recognize yang and yin. So maybe shut your eyes and do that a couple of times and notice what's going on inside for you as you do it. What's happening inside? And then just relaxing. So it's softening. Good. Do it one more time. And then shake the wrists out. Let the hands drop. Now we're going to use a fist. Fist is a bit more iconic. It's got a little bit more, you see people holding their fists up, sort of for victory and things like that. So using a fist is a bit more, is also has a slightly different internal effect. So we're using a strong fist, and then we don't open the fist, we're just literally going to weaken it. So it's not a gross movement, we're working with quite a subtle movement. So tighten the fist, and then just soften it. So you can see there's hardly anything going on, but you can probably see in my hands, I tighten and then soften. Again, maybe shut your eyes and just notice what's going on. Tightening and then softening. You're getting tight in the fist and then soften and then shake the fist out, the hands out. So this introduces us, it's quite useful to have, like I introduced the 5 elements just now, and we just started with the metal, the lungs, and the healing sound for metal. Another term which is very useful in everyday being able to calibrate where we're at is yin and yang. You know, those two fishes that sort of curl around each other. One's black, one's white. The white one's got a black dot on it. The black one's got a white dot on it. So in yang there's yin and in yin there's yang. So loosely translated, it actually came from the sun rising over a hill. So you've got the sun in the morning going over and the other side is in shadow. And then in the evening, the other side is in sunshine, the other side is in shadow. So you've got the two different aspects of yin and yang. So yang is often referred to as strong and sometimes masculine. I tried to keep that out of it, but just keeping it very, very, very sort of more descriptive of a mind physical state. And that thing of yang is what got you all here this morning, the ability to be in action. What tends to happen though, because these are all connected to our mind states. So that yang, it gives us confidence, the ability to do things, to get on with life, to fill in our tax return, to pay that bill, to cook the dinner, to do all the things that actually get life moving. But what tends to happen, we get a bit anxious about things. We planning. That's a wonderful way of having anxiety, of worrying about stuff, of getting anxious about being stressed. So when we're over yanged, we wear ourselves out and we may collapse into yin. And some people do, they actually get into a place where, and you have to go and lie down for 5 minutes, and sometimes for a day, and sometimes people for years. So it's an interesting one, that one. And the yin state is the soft and weak. Now, hard and strong yang, which are very short descriptions, but it's that thing of really getting things done. But within the yang, there's the yin, that softness, that fluidity, that ability. I mean, if you talk about water, water goes into the lowest places. So very connected with the unconscious mind, if you like. But it's also our kindness. Kindness has a softness about it. So we can still have that kindness when we're in a place of yang. But sometimes when we get over yinned, and again, that lying down and feeling really, really tired. So, for example, you might wake up in the morning thinking, oh, I'm all wired up, ready to go. I've got a bit of yang today. I'll get this done, get all the housework done, and go out and do something in the garden. Oh, go and visit that friend. Really get on with stuff. Another day, oh, I don't know. Yes, I do need that cup of tea, and then go and sit down. You're feeling a bit yin. So it's quite nice to be able to observe the states we're in instead of just swimming through them unconsciously. So both Qigong and meditation are about awareness, about being awake and slowly peeling away the delusions that we carry about ourselves. So, for example, working with Qigong, the posture, how we hold our frame, will immediately change the quality of our life. But our frame gets affected by our own lives, what's happened to us. And we've all gone through trauma, our childhoods, early years, right from conception, and then through to how then we've been affected by life as we go through it. So our frame will get distorted. I mean, one of the classical things in our frame is the overthinking and the wishing things were different. Oh, I wish it was sunny today, for example. I'm sure you can think of all sorts of things that you wish were different. Oh, I wish I managed to get that parking space. I wish I hadn't said that. I wish that other person hadn't said that. I want this to, this desire. So all the time, it's like we're bracing ourselves against everyday circumstances. I wish I wasn't in this situation. So we're not in a relaxed state at all. And that bracing typically shows itself in the jaw, the neck, and the shoulders. Often the lower back, often in other parts of the body, but they're the typical places. And most groups I work with, if I ask, does anybody have an aching jaw, neck, or shoulders, I can tell you 99.9% of the time, hands will go up. And then I ask, did you plan it? Did you plan to have these aching necks, jaws, shoulders? Of course you didn't. So that immediately takes off, that immediately we can go into, oh, it's all my own fault. No, it's what life has dished up to us, but we haven't been awake and we haven't noticed. And we haven't had the antidote. So it's that thing of, oh, I'm aware of this now, no big deal. And in that awareness, I embrace this in my life. I start to be kind to the ache in my shoulders, the pain in my jaw, the stiff neck that I have. So it's this thing, or right from the word go, these practices of Qigong and meditation are profound acts of compassion and kindness. And it may not seem that on the surface, but just by what we were doing, the swaying from foot to foot, the breathing, letting the ground support us, I'm hoping something shifted from how you were feeling as we started to how you're feeling right now. In fact, just take a moment. How am I feeling? And when we do that, of course, I put this, oh yes, I put it here. I always think, and this is a profound part of mindfulness training actually, is asking a question without an expectation of an answer. We're just going to work on those two questions today. The where am I and how am I feeling? So for example, this glass of water, if I dropped a little pebble in, it would go to the bottom and these ripples will come out. So it's like the thought goes into the body, let it drop. How does it feel like to let a thought drop into the body? Can that happen? Don't overthink it. Just let it happen. And we just see what ripples out. And of course, different things will ripple out at different times, depending on what's going on for you. So how am I feeling? And then where am I now? Where am I now? And then just give yourself a little shake. Okay. So we're going to move into, there's three, I always think of the thing of the basics of Qigong and meditation, like having a little milking stool. You've got the platform, which is the Qigong and meditation, and it's supported by three legs. And one of the legs is awareness, mindfulness, meditation. Another leg is the relaxation. And another leg is the movement. So you've got those three legs coming together. So the body, the mind, and the ease of the body. Now, our relaxation is so profoundly important. Depending on the group, I sometimes tease people and say, oh, I think you've got several PhDs. You're very, very well trained in tension. Because if we think about it, during our life, we've often given more time to the negative, to the worrying, to being anxious, than we have to celebrating the positive. So let's go back to what we've just done this morning when we were standing. Was it a pleasant experience or an unpleasant experience? So that's quite an interesting question to ask. And I'm going to have a go. Ooh, I don't know whether I can do this or not. Okay, no, I'm not going to bother with that because I think that's beyond my capacity. What I'm going to do is to send you one of I find incredibly useful tool. I'll get there now. Yeah, I'm just going to send this. I'm sending you an email now. And this is a calendar of pleasant events. I'll just show it to you, but you'll receive it through your inbox. So it's this. And it's a good way of starting to open up our awareness to the detail. So in a mindfulness course, this has classically been introduced in the very first week, and it's called a calendar of pleasant events. And it's got days so people can fill it in. And, it's up to you. It's just a model for you to have. And I always recommend that people keep this going throughout a course. So they become more aware of recognizing what is pleasant in our lives. Because we've got such a negative bias, our ancestors had to protect themselves against a saber-toothed tiger. And we tend to ignore the things that bring us joy a little bit, and just focus on the things that aren't so good. So actually turning our awareness more to the positivity is very helpful. So in each box, the first one, don't worry if you haven't got it, was what was your experience? So the experience we're talking about this morning is having the feet shoulder width apart, feeling the ground, having that gentle rocking and doing it. I mean, I encourage you in your practice to try doing that for at least 5 minutes a day and to see with your awareness on the actual technique, the technique which gives it structure, makes a container. Anything in life has a technique. Just making a cup of tea, a technique. My lemon and honey and ginger drink I have here. A bit of a technique to do that. That recipe has come out of wisdom. So that thing, what was experienced? So when you fill this in, maybe later today, the second column is, as you were doing the actual, in that experience, were you aware of any pleasant feelings while the event was happening? Yeah. So that's quite an interesting question. Because the mind tends to live in the future or the past, the planning, the worrying, the anxiety. Oh, I've got to get to so-and-so tomorrow. How am I going to do that? Where am I going to park the car? Am I going to be able to get the train? Blah, blah, all those sorts of things. Being present now. So that what we did right at the beginning this morning, feeling our feet, dropping the shoulders. You can do this. Feel your bottom on the chair, on the cushion. Feel the ground supporting us all. Drop the shoulders, connect to the breath. That'll instantly bring us into the present moment. And in this present moment, there's a space. And that allows that out breath, that sense of releasing some of the tensions we've been holding. Then we come to the body, the physical body, because the body reveals our mindset states in extraordinary detail. How did your body feel in detail during the experience? Describe the sensations that you felt. What moods, feelings, and thoughts accompanied this event at the time? So often when we do something, we sort of do it and think, I've done that, right, move on, doing something else. But the thing about art and meditation and Qigong are both arts, like singing, dancing, music, painting. We all have a talent for them. If we wish to help that talent to flourish, we need to practice. So we go back over and just find out a little bit more about it. What was actually happening during this? What moods, feelings, and thoughts accompanied this event at this time? And don't worry, there's blank. And what thoughts are in your mind now as you write this down? So I invite you to do this later today, and also to keep that calendar going throughout the course, at least for the first 10 Saturdays anyway. So you have a sense of once a day having a moment of reflecting on a pleasant event, of really starting. John Kabat-Zinn, who was the person who put together all the ingredients to create in the 70s of a mindfulness course. He was a neuroscientist working at the Massachusetts, a big teaching hospital. And he was concerned that there were some people, whatever they did to support them, particularly the people with chronic depression or chronic pain, they weren't being able to help them. Now, all medicine has a cost. And in America, particularly because of the high cost of insurance, when he went to his cohorts, his fellow consultants, and suggested working with a group, that sort of tipped it on board. Oh, yes, we'll give it a go because it's not going to cost much. We're going to have 8, 12, 14 people in the same room. We're not seeing people individually. And I love that sense of practicality, working with something that's going to help people profoundly on the internal, invisible environment. So he had been a meditator for many years, Zen Buddhist meditation, a yoga practitioner, as well as a medical practitioner. So he introduced these ingredients and did an 8-week course, which has become, and then there was no research whatsoever. There's a huge amount of research. And everybody was profoundly and positively moved by the shifts that people made during those 8 weeks of this training, 2 hours a week with practice in between, and then a full day of practice. One of the things he did do, which is quite famous, was having, I've forgotten, was it a piece of chocolate or like a raspberry, but something to take, to look at, some piece of food. Now, I used to do that, but then I realized even that has got hazards. I was working in a school and to teach mindfulness. And the very first group I had, I asked for just a normal class of kids. And what did they give me? They gave me all the kids that had all sorts of neurological complications, including anorexia. So I had a choice of, I thought I'm going to bring in a choice of maybe a Malteser and a raspberry. And I remember one girl taking the raspberry and then saying, I think she ate about 2 little pimples of the raspberry to taste it and everything. Oh, that's 2 hours of exercise in the gym. And I'm thinking, okay, I think this one was, I will leave that out because I don't want to add another layer of difficulty in people's experience when they're doing a mindfulness course. So that's why I don't do that. But of course, if you want to read, I'm not going to give you a book list, by the way, until about two or three sessions in, because I'd love your practice to inform your reading, as opposed to your reading to inform your practice. So we start to trust ourselves, we are our own best witnesses. So these platforms, the relaxation, because of our bias towards anxiety and planning. I mean, some people, they look incredibly relaxed, but there's a sort of a little duck paddling frantically underneath. As to how do I start to recognize those little starting those tightnesses, starting the breath being held, the mind getting panicky. So relaxation is an art. So what we're going to do now is to start to consider the role of relaxation to bring ease into our life and how to guide it and how to work with it ourselves in our own life on a moment by moment basis. So this whole thing of awareness through the movement we do, through our meditations, starts to be a sense of awareness. So I'm going to actually pause now, and we're going to have maybe a little 5-minute break. And in those 5 minutes, you might want a tea or a pee to get yourself into a place where you can lie down. Not everybody can lie down, by the way. So I also recommend a chair. And the chair, if people are sitting on a chair, say they're in my studio, I put the chair by the wall with a cushion behind their head. And because often, sometimes people, they just fall straight asleep doing a relaxation. I never mind when that happens. I just carry on because something goes in unconsciously and they've needed that sleep because sleep is a huge thing. So that's another question I often ask at the beginning of a mindfulness course to help understand the working of the mind. Do people have the experience, and some of you may have this, of going to bed exhausted, falling asleep instantly, and then waking up at 2 o'clock in the morning and the mind, dum dum, and that's it. Or you go to bed exhausted and immediately the mind's going. And so you have this wretched thing of sleeplessness. And this reveals to us that the habits of the day will go through the night. We can't change our mind habits overnight, but we can change them during the day. Because sleep, oh, just if people get a good night's sleep from doing some of this work, as a result, the quality of their life will be improved enormously. So, going to take a little pause and then to come back into a place where you can lie down on the floor, on your bed, on a settee, or if you can't lie down, not everybody can, in a seated position.